What's good, y'all? This video pretty boy, short time, Mr. Short Time, pretty boy, bless. We back at it with another video. I know it's been a while, y'all, but yeah, I've been busy. We back at it with another video about to react to Judge recalls YNW Bortlen after new evidence discovered. So let's get into it.
Begin with a stunning development in the double murder trial of YNW Melly.
After days of deliberations, the jury was deadlocked, leading the judge to declare a mistrial. No potential of Ojo.
They couldn't decide what they wanted to do.
And what happens next? And decisions ending after 3 days, with the jury not able to come up with a unanimous decision to decide the fate of YNW Melly.
Just had the mistrial called, and I need to have both of your reactions.
Obviously, we want to thank the jury for their great efforts that they've extended over this period of time. But we are somewhat disappointed that Melly is not walking out the door with us. That's all I can say for right now.
When it comes to court cases, most people think there are only two ways it can go. It can either be ruled guilty or not guilty.
I think he's
Technically
guilty, though.
speaking, that is true, as that's the only definitive ways
I think
for a
that
trial
person
to
is
end.
guilty,
But there's another option, albeit one that is complicated for
One use will change your hair. Acidic Bonding Concentrate Lightweight Liquid Conditioner from Redken transforms fine, damaged hair in one use. With lightweight bond repair and 48 hours of volume, Redken's Acidic Bonding Concentrate Lightweight Liquid Conditioner.
Hey, you. Wait. Yeah,
I think Bortlen
Don't you want to play
is
something
guilty. I really
all
do.
involved. That third option is a mistrial. That means that the person accused of a crime wasn't declared guilty or not guilty, but that the case was so corrupted by those trying the case or so convoluted that the jury couldn't decide, and things have to start again. Quite ironically, after 5 years of waiting, that was the verdict of the YNW Melly case. We'll break it down for you, but first be sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel below.
Shit. It shouldn't be. It shouldn't take 1,000 years just to get a court case. Go to bring the case to court. It shouldn't take that long. After you do the time, do the crime, you should be, like a couple weeks, a month. Y'all need to get it together, get your jury all together. Yeah, and come correct. It's crazy.
Jury. Yeah, many people didn't see this coming, and yet that's exactly what happened. After jurors deliberated for roughly 2 days, a mistrial was declared in the double murder case of YNW Melly, aka Jamel Demons, who was accused of killing his 2 friends. On Saturday in Broward County, Florida, a mistrial was declared in the double murder case of YNW Melly, who was accused of murdering his friends, YNW Juvie and YNW Sack
He
Chaser,
looks
in
scared.
October of
He looks
2018.
scared as
A
hell.
mistrial declared in the double murder case against YNW Melly. Melly, whose legal name is Jamel Demons, is charged in the 2018 shooting deaths of 2 of his friends. Broward County prosecutors say the shooting was gang-related and they were seeking the death penalty. Melly's attorneys argue the gun used in the shootings was never recovered and that Melly had no apparent motive to shoot his friends. Prosecutors will likely choose to retry the case with a new jury.
The decision came after the jury was unable to come to a unanimous verdict. The term for that
Only
is
3
jury,
people found
as it
him
means that some
guilty.
people didn't agree
Only
with
3
the rest, and thus everything was hung up. It doesn't usually happen in high-profile cases like this, and yet here we are. Before Circuit Court Judge John Murphy III excused the jury, he thanked them for their service. Our system doesn't work without getting people from the community to come in here and listen to the facts of the case and make these types of decisions, he said. They are hard decisions. We appreciate you gave us the time. Early Friday afternoon, following multiple requests to see evidence and testimony a second time, Judge John Murphy III read a letter asking what would be the outcome if they could not come to a decision.
After considering all the facts, jurors in YNW
He still gotta wait in jail
trial
for a while. That's crazy.
decision Saturday. On Friday, they asked for cell phone records and told the judge they were deadlocked.
Everyone is stuck on what side they've chosen. The letter read, after discussing an Allen charge where the judge would request a minority in the group to reconsider their decision, Judge Murphy asked the jury to go back and deliberate one more time, and if they still couldn't come to a verdict, then he would declare a mistrial. After looking over more evidence, the jury still could not come up with a unanimous decision. That says a lot.
We are somewhat disappointed that Melly is not walking out the door with us.
As the prosecution was certain in its case, especially as they relayed closing arguments. Closing thoughts. From the start, the prosecution was doing everything possible to ensure that the people of the jury knew that even without certain evidence, they could still make a case that YNW Melly killed his two former friends, and when closing arguments dropped, their thoughts hadn't changed. Back when you first started here, some of you as early as April 10th, you agreed to follow the law, and the law is clear that this defendant committed 2 counts of first-degree murder. Assistant State Attorney Christine Bradley told the jury.
Jamel Demons was sitting in the back seat of that Jeep, and he's the one that fired the fatal shots that killed Christopher Thomas and Anthony Williams.
The overall picture puts Mr. Demons in the backseat of that Jeep, adding, it puts him holding a gun. You don't need a murder weapon to know he committed these 2 crimes.
Investigators believe Melly and another friend then drove the car to a secluded part of Miramar, where they are said to have staged a drive-by shooting to use as a cover story.
The relatives of Demons and the 2 murder victims, Christopher Drayton Thomas Jr. and Anthony Sackchaser Williams, also listened without interrupting the prosecution or the defense. You folks are going to determine this young man's fate. Attorney Stuart Adelstein, who's representing Demons, told the jury.
But Melly's defense team has maintained there are major holes in the state's case, even bringing their own witness who said Melly learned about the murders at the same time as the rest of their friend group.
There's lack of evidence, there is a conflict in the evidence, and the evidence itself, and the investigation itself stinks.
I suggest to you folks that we have a reasonable doubt that there is a conflict in the evidence and there is a lack of evidence. While it's clear that some of the jury didn't agree that there was a lack of evidence, they also clearly didn't agree that there was plenty of evidence to move the case to a sentencing. That's the justice system.
The prosecutors did a bad
You can't
job.
always just take what the defense or prosecution is saying at their word, and thus the jury debates to see if things were explained to their satisfaction. In this case, it clearly wasn't. But that begs the question, what now? Due to the fact that a mistrial means the jury was unable to come to a definite verdict of guilty or not guilty, the prosecution can ultimately decide to pursue a new trial should they so choose. According to Miami law firm Valiant Law, the state of Florida now has 90 days to bring forth a new double murder trial against YNW Melly. If the prosecution fails to do so, Melly's defense can inform the court that the 90-day period has expired and can move to have the charges dismissed. As for Melly, he'll remain in jail for the time being. After all, he was arrested on some serious charges, and they're not the kind you can just walk out of. They're the ones that you have to wait until something definitive is decided. While Melly was shown to be happy after the mistrial statement, there's a difference between getting a mistrial and getting your freedom.
And David, do you have anything you want to say further? And what are your next steps as far as Melly is concerned? Are there going to be any efforts to try to get him out on bond?
We're not at liberty to discuss that at this point.
Use a hoe. I'm an entrepreneur, and he's a cop.
That's crazy.
No damn detective.
What are you at liberty to discuss? Can you tell us anything about next steps? Okay, thank you so much.
They-
We really appreciate you coming.
That being said, if the prosecution doesn't go forward with another case, which likely wouldn't happen for the next few months, as they'll likely try and use the 90-day period to its max to ensure it has a case for retrial, then Melly can go for a last. But again, that's not guaranteed right now. So ironically, once again, we're in a bit of a waiting game. But while we wait, let's look at the various elements of the case that likely led to this mistrial verdict. The biggest one that the defense kept harping on was missing evidence. The first big issue was the lack of evidence that definitively tied Melly to the crime.
Yeah, the lack
First and
of
foremost,
evidence.
the murder weapon. While the prosecution harped on the fact that YNW Melly was the only one who could have
You
killed the
ain't-
two in the car that was
you
the
ain't
crime
find no
scene,
evidence.
they didn't find the gun on him. They
No.
searched not one but 2 presumed crime scenes based on the 2 events that were told by the suspects and the investigators, and no gun was found. Specifically, we mean where Melly and his accomplice said things happened, and where investigators felt things happened. But despite the deep search, no weapons were found. That's pretty bad, because having the murder weapon with any kind of trace or connection to the accused can sway the jury easily. But because they didn't have that, the defense simply kept bringing up witnesses to try to convince the jury through experience that it wasn't a drive-by shooting that Melly and Bortlen claimed, but instead it was an inside job. Literally, clearly these witnesses did enough, on top of their other testimony and evidence, to sway some of the jury. but not all of them, so thus the hung verdict. Now, it's possible that some argue that given the gap in the events between the murder and the victims being taken to the hospital, Ellie could have easily gotten rid of the murder weapon, but that's speculation, not evidence, and that probably weighed on some of the jury too. It's important to remind you that not only was YNW Melly on trial for a double murder, but if he was found guilty, he might have been given the death penalty, something that loomed very large over this trial. So perhaps that weighed on the jury's minds as well. We'll likely not know for a while, but it was clear in the minds of a few jury members that there wasn't enough to convict of murder. But to be fair, that wasn't the only
They
thing
didn't
that
look at
might
the
have swayed
tapes.
some
They
of the
didn't look
jury.
at the
Prosecution
evidence.
misconduct. Another element of
Like,
this case that can't be
there was
ignored is that there
actually
were multiple attempts by the defense
a
to
drive-by,
overturn this
but
trial.
y'all didn't watch the
biggest
tapes. Like,
example
y'all
came
crazy.
when the prosecution allegedly harassed the mother of Melly's girlfriend, stating that she was unsafe and could potentially be deported if she didn't cooperate with them. That's a bold move and tactic, and the defense jumped on the accusations and tried to get a mistrial. While it didn't work, it definitely set a tone for things to come. And this doesn't even mention the numerous times that the prosecution tried to make YNW Melly look like a gang member, despite him not having an official affiliation or group. They even tried to use his music against him as evidence to show his intent and potential crimes. Even Snoop Dogg was brought up in defense against this accusation by stating you can do things like gang signs and not actually be a gang member. There's plenty of evidence of that, as people from Serena Williams to famous actors do signs and moves that are known as gang movements, but don't exactly equate to being in a gang. Sometimes it's just part of the culture. In fact, the defense tried multiple times to get that mistrial verdict, and while each one was overruled, it definitely planted seeds in the minds of the jury that something wasn't right here. Perhaps those seeds grew into something that was much more, and led to the doubt that resulted in the hung jury. It's truly hard to know for sure. It needs to be noted here that there haven't been any major pieces of evidence proving that the prosecution was corrupt or biased, or using unfair tactics to try and get their verdict. And if the jury felt even a little that this could be going on, then yeah, that's a problem. The other side. While we've shown you many points of view regarding why jury members may have sided with the defense, it's important to remind you that some of them also sided with the prosecution, and there were key reasons as to why that likely was. First off, the prosecution had various testimonies from the people who investigated the crime scene, and they all stated that while there wasn't a murder weapon found, the way that YNW members were killed could have only happened from within the car, and not a drive-by, as Melly and his accomplice stated. Furthermore, the defense tried to state that there was no motive for Melly to kill his rap brothers, but the prosecution proved that to be inaccurate. There were text messages sent between the three that hinted at serious tension, and that they were arguing a lot over money and credit. Not to mention the whole situation of how Melly and his accomplice were alongside their YNW members, but weren't harmed. And the only accomplice went to the hospital to get help speaks volumes of suspicion. But apparently that wasn't enough. Future unknown. As we noted, now we go into yet another waiting period. There's little doubt that the defense will take this as a kind of victory and try to push for something big to happen to end things. But the prosecution might just see this as a chance to get a different jury, and one that might lean towards their feelings and insights. Either way, this current case is closed, and now we'll have to wait for either a new one or the release of Melly. It'll be interesting to watch and see what happens. And there you go, everyone. A look at what happened in the YNW Melly case and how things are likely going to progress from here. Do you think that Melly got off lucky that he wasn't found guilty or not guilty? Do you think that the prosecution is going to try the case again? What do you think?
You know, they gonna try the case again. But he might walk out. You never know, you know what I'm saying? Because it's just crazy. They didn't have enough evidence to convict him, you know. But the defense, his lawyers did a good job for him, though. Well, I hope everybody comment, like, share, and subscribe when we out this bitch.